Has the stock market already accurately predicted the next president, as we've seen the S&P 500 rocketing up today, threatening filling the gap that we left behind from last week? We look at the Fear and Greed Index. We are still in fear territory. And like a wise man once said, be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful. Now, as we come over and look at how the indices fared across the board, the Dow was up 427 points. The NASDAQ was up 259. S&P 500 was up 70 points. Russell 2000 being down 4.14. Look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 78.4% of issues advancing on the day. So overwhelmingly, the stock market was bullish. Then as we come over and look at the sectors, every single sector was in the green. However, there is a warning sign out here. And the fact that utilities were leading the way, think about that more as being defensive than actually helping the situation out. Now, today on the live stream, we're talking about this, and let me know your thoughts. Do you guys think Polymarket has it right in terms of the 2024 elections? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And we look at this article right here. Trump trade surging as voters head to the polls. Now, what could the Trump trade be? Is it the fact that DJT early on was rallying up and then ultimately gave it back up, meaning that maybe this surge everybody's thinking about for a Trump victory was a little bit overblown and now they're starting to come to realization? Or is it the fact that Bitcoin is on the move again? And a lot of traders are anticipating that if Trump is elected, Bitcoin is absolutely going to rocket up higher. And we can see, though, look towards the end of the day, as we look at Bitcoin, it fell off the highs substantially from where it was earlier in the morning. Then as we come over and look at the dollar index, starting to fall back here just a bit. However, the yield today basically flat. Early on, the yields were rising up, but then they simply gave it back. We come over and look at the precious metal gold. Gold today eking out a small gain, but still not a whole lot to see. If this volume area right here gives way, watch out for 27.17. That will be the next target to the downside. If we can clear above this, then we'll see if we can do a retest of the all-time highs and potentially go ahead and push up higher. Now, this article right here sums it up pretty well. Trump-Harris odds whipsaw on dueling polls, but you should ignore the noise. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, all right? It's only going to be a matter of hours or days before we know who is actually going to be the next president for the United States. Some people are going to be happy. Some people are going to be upset. However, what I will tell you now, one thing that we've learned from past election cycles, if the market has not accurately predicted who is going to be elected president, then we could see a big, nasty knee-jerk reaction after hours. Keep in mind, in the 2016 elections, the market essentially went screaming to the downside. Futures markets locked limiting before ultimately giving it all back the next day and closing in the green. So tonight during Asia, it could be action packed. If you guys want to make sure you don't miss the next time I go live, make sure you subscribe and the bell notifications turned on for all. Now, when we look at the economic calendar for tomorrow, we have no major economic news for tomorrow. So we're basically cleared on that front. If you're a crude oil trader, crude oil comes out at 10:30, but let's not forget, Thursday is going to be a big one. The BOE has their monetary policy statement. We have the weekly unemployment claims. However, Papa Powell is going to take the spotlight and overshadow the current election cycle. So now, after tonight, all attentions are going to turn towards Jay Powell. Once we know who has won the elections, Jay Powell is going to be in focus, and we'll see, does Jay Powell steal the limelight? And what will that mean for the markets moving forward? As we come over and look at the Dow today, we see we had a very bullish candle on the way up, closing in the upper third of the range, almost at the tippy top of the candle. Look out here on the 30-minute chart and notice, what do we have? Bottom one, bottom two, bottom three, a triple bottom pattern. Boom, rocket ship on the way back up. But we could also make the case that this is nothing more than a lower level consolidation. And now we're at a point where it may be advantageous to start becoming a seller in this market. And as we look at the small caps real quick, notice we closed almost at the tippy top of the range. And we look at this on the 5-minute chart. Notice today we gap lower, only to run up and away. And after hours, we are up another 0.25%. Now I want to bring it to your guys' attention. There is no published 80% sale with Apex Trader Funding at this moment. But if you use the link in the description box down below and use promo code Mike at checkout, I've been told that 80% discount is still being applied. We come over and look at the Qs out here on the daily chart. Notice we close in the upper end of the range, but as we look into this a little bit closer, notice we had that large gaping gap left behind from last week. Then as we dive down to the 1-hour chart, MACD indicator looks very strong, 45-degree angle up with a good separation of the two lines. And I kind of like this push up, little consolidation, getting ready for a push up and out, maybe coming all the way up here, filling the gap. Before we get to that gap, We have a secondary target, which we talked about today during the live stream, 493.85. Up here to about 495.46. So this would be a first target location, assuming we don't just simply gap all the way above that area. However, we still want to be open-minded, right? Maybe, just maybe, the market has it wrong. And if the market has priced in incorrectly who is going to be the next president, then we can see the market cascading lower, maybe even coming all the way down here, filling the gap left behind from today. However, with a P as in Paul shaped profile, this basically gives us a heads up. And what I mean by this is if we start breaking value area low, we're likely going to explore the lower third in the range. We start breaking that, we look towards gap support, and then all the way down here for the gap being filled. If we break above value area high and we stay above it, then that structure breakdown point that we talked about would be in play, along with a potential gap fill slightly above that. Then we'll see, can the NASDAQ continue to rally, potentially making another new all-time high? Because when we come over here and we look at some of the high-flying stocks out here, Apple has a gap left behind still just a bit. Apple starting to try to turn bullish here just a bit. We look at NVIDIA trying to make another run towards all-time highs. We take a look at Google basically flatlining right around here. And then we look at Microsoft has that gaping gap left behind from earnings. And will the presidential election be enough to go ahead and push the market up into this gap? Give us a bullish reaction to the election results that should be out tonight or tomorrow. Now, if we come over and we look at the futures markets real quick, what do we see out here for the NASDAQ? Well, we talked about this today during the live stream for this double bottom pattern, and we've already broken above the upper swing point. So that pattern is validated. Now, that doesn't mean we won't see any type of retracements on the way back down, but that target is all the way up here at 563.97, and the point of control is up here at 20,588.25. So could this be where the market is heading? I most certainly think so. However, before we get there, look at this candle right here. Look at the wick on it. We had a structure breakdown point. At some point, we should come back and test that level. That'll be about 20,431. Now, as we start looking at the daily volume profile levels real quick, notice we are slightly above value area high, which will come in at 20,369.50. We have the point of control at 20,323.50, with value area low being 20,256.50. Now, if we can get back below value area high, I would like to target the point of control, maybe even value area low. And today during the live stream, we were talking about this minus development area down around here as well. And that really comes in somewhere from the ballpark from about 20,166 to about 20,182. Now, we come over and look at the SPY. Notice we close in the upper end of the range, almost at the tippy top of the candle. And we have that gap left behind from last week. Now, the MACD indicator is not firmed up just yet. However, look at the 1 hour chart. We can clearly see the MACD indicator is crossed to the upside. We are approaching the zero line. So if we start to turn back down from here, that could be nothing more than a recharge point to go ahead and make another leg lower. Keep in mind, today we did have a gap up. So we have an open gap below us. We have an open gap above us, and notice, what do we have up here as well? We have a couple little structure breakdown points that we should come back and test, 578.13 and a little bit higher at 578.43. Now, will we be able to push all the way up through those targets and potentially fill the gap by tomorrow? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, when we dive down and start looking at the 30-minute chart, MACD indicator still looks strong, but we have that same P as in Paul shaped profile like we talked about with the NASDAQ. Now, keep in mind, right now, we are currently trading above today's high in terms of after hours. So if we get below value area high, which will be 576.42, I want to target the point of control. I want to target value area low, then down here towards the lower third of the range, because the P-shaped profile says if we break value area low, likely going to explore the lower third of the range, then gap support, and then the gap coming down and being filled. So who knows? Will it be a repeat of what we saw in 2016 in terms of the price action we see in the stock market? Now, we come over here and we look at the S&P 500, big bullish push on the way up, and that same double bottom-ish pattern. Now, if we look at where that completes, right up here near the point of control at 58.78, all the way to 58.82. That's going to be a target area I do want to focus on. However, notice on the 4 hour chart, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive bullish candles in a row. Doesn't mean we can't have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but just know a pullback would make sense at some point. If we start to pull back, I kind of like this area right over here on the profile, this whole minus development area, and that's going to be anywhere from about 57.80 down here to about 57.76. As we dive down, start looking at the daily profiles real quick. Here's some of the levels that we're watching today during the live stream. And notice towards the end of the day, we were able to push up and out from value area high. Now, normally what I say is when we close outside of value, expect the market to come back and test that within the next 1 to 2 sessions. Well, depending on the election results tonight, we could push extremely higher from that point on. So maybe that area gets left behind for a little bit longer. Now, value area high is going to be about 5811.00, with the point of control being down here about 5801.00. Value area low being down here about 5783. Now, we still have a minus development area within the profile that if we do start to rotate lower, before we get the value area low, this would be a target area I would want to focus on at about 5790.25. Now, if you want to see the trade copier and the settings that I use to trade my funded accounts, watch this video right here.